boo-boos. This house buying process has got me a little stressy and depressy, I'm not gonna lie, but it is also a step forward that I really never expected to achieve before 30 years old, much less ever. Okay, honestly, I am very, very grateful to have this opportunity, and I wanted to share my experience with this whole process. The finances, the struggles, the communication, the emotions. Let's see, it all started when I was born in 1996. I'm just kidding, okay? So we decided to start looking for a house at the end of November, about 4 full months before we were set to move out from our apartment. And I'm gonna give y'all the TLDR, okay? My partner and I had and still have pretty mid credit scores. Thanks, Career Point. My aunt is a realtor and kindly gave me her loan officer's contact info. And while a loan officer isn't really necessary, it made the process a lot easier for us considering we don't have to pay our officer out of pocket. And we're basically newborns to this process. Like, we don't know much, we are shitting our pants, and we are broke. He talked us through the steps, and I'm gonna talk you through them too. Number 1 on the list is improve our credit. He gave us some quick tips, and I'm gonna give y'all that later on in the video, but this was a necessary step for us, and if it's not necessary for y'all, then amazing, wonderful, I'm jealous, give me your credit score. Number 2, we send in necessary documents like a W-2 to prove our income source, maybe a certificate of eligibility if you are going with the VA home loan, possible debts that we have, love letters, etc., things like that, whatever. Number 3, we have to have enough money in our checking and savings account for closing costs because we are not pulling out of our 401k, okay? Apparently that is an option, but it is a terrible option. Do not do this. Do not give up your future just for the sake of getting a home, okay? Number 4 is obtaining a pre-approval letter from the lender for a budget. Now with this letter, you understand the budget that you have at the income that you're at, and you can finally start on step number 5, which is actually touring the houses and finding one that you love. This might take a while. It might take you a couple dozen of houses for you to really find the one that you like, but it's better to keep looking and envisioning you and your family and your loved ones living in a house and finding the perfect fit for your situation than to put in an offer on a house that you're just iffy about. Unless, of course, it's an investment property. In other words, you shouldn't be watching this video because I am a first-time home buyer to live in the home. This is gonna be my homestead, okay? Number 6, when you find that house that you love, you're going to put in an offer on that house and you're gonna wait. You're probably not gonna be waiting for long because the seller is trying to sell their house, right? So that means that the listing agent is going to be in contact with your realtor and they're going to be talking back and forth about the offers, which is step number 7, negotiating. There could be multiple rounds of negotiation, but the initial one is putting in an offer on the house, the listing agent relaying that offer to the seller approving the offer or counter offering for a probably higher number, which is when your realtor is going to come back to you with their counter offer, and you can either choose to accept their counter offer or try and offer another smaller number or ask them for concessions. When you guys finally settle on a number for the offer, that is when you're going to start hiring inspectors. It is usually the buyer's responsibility to find inspectors. Generally, your realtor or your broker will already have an inspector that they are associated with. For us, it was fairly easy because the broker that our realtor works with already has a home inspector that she works with, and we were able to book a home inspection within a couple of days. So that was step number 8. And number 9 is if there are reasons to negotiate that pop up in your inspection, then you kind of want to hope that your sellers concede, because in our experience, they don't. So don't get your hopes up is what I learned, but try to stay positive throughout the whole process. You have to be patient and you have to understand where other people are coming from, but at the same time, money up, okay? You gotta be a little hardball. Make sure that your realtor is gonna play hardball for you, because you don't want to be caught in the ring without your gloves on. So while step 8 and step 9 are underway, on the other side of things, your underwriting process should be started and or finishing up depending on your loan requirements and your lender, as well as if your lender/loan officer is using auto or manual underwriting processes. In our experience, we are using manual underwriting because we have a couple of things to consider, such as a car being under my partner's name that is not actually his and is actually being paid for by somebody else. And number 11, the title company will reach out pretty much immediately after the offer, and amendments are submitted by the seller for earnest money, which is usually about 1% of the house price. Now with this, it's going to put the earnest money, the 1%, into an escrow account that can be put towards your closing costs. So a little So for your information, the earnest money and a letter of intent purpose is to ensure that you and the seller are protected throughout the process. And an escrow account is used by the middleman, which is the title company, that if any situation arises, that everyone is covered. If you pull out for an unknown reason, the seller will receive the earnest money. If the inspection fails, if something happened with your loan, or the seller pulls out for whatever reason, you are protected and you are returned your earnest money. An escrow account is also used by your lender for the lender's peace of mind that you can afford the property taxes and home insurance for this home that you are buying. And it's up to the lender how many weeks or months in advance they want to have in that escrow account. Step number 13, if you have not already been on standby to your phone, making sure that the ringer is on, make sure that your ringer is on because there's probably going to be more documents that need to be signed and submitted to your lender. Though if you did hire a loan officer, they should make the process fairly smooth and take care of submitting the correct documents for you, but the underwriter or lender may find reasons to ask for more documentation, possibly because of a late payment ping on your credit, or maybe you are paying your taxes off, but the lender thinks it's because you have more taxes to pay to the IRS. Just some things to note from personal experience. And then step number 14, after everything is sent to the underwriter, the lender then has to approve and then release the funds. And then and only then can an appointment be made with the title company for the seller, the buyer, and the realtors to come in and sign off on the handoff of the house. Step number 15, bing, bang, boom, we get the keys to the house and we get to do what we want with it because it's our house now. Overall, this whole process after we found the house and put an offer in on it took about a month and a half with manual underwriting process, which is generally known to be longer than an automated underwriting process. I also want to attribute the longer process to negotiating. We went back to the negotiation table quite a lot of times with them, though they were not willing to concede. And when we filed for an extension for the closing date so that we could get the funds to be released by the lender, the listing agent and the seller made a big kerfuffle about it, and they made an amendment originally to take back some of the seller's concession, but then after they negotiated with my realtor and the broker, they conceded to just taking away some of the funds for the home warranty that they said that they were going to pay for, which now they only paid for half of it. Because it wasn't any of our faults, aka me and my partner, our loan officer and my realtor both agreed to pay half and half of what the seller was conceding, which is very nice of them. They did not have to do that, but also it wasn't any of our faults, my partner and I. And honestly, the whole process very much frustrated and stressed out my partner and I think that our loan officer and our realtor knew. But I am not one to not be straightforward. I will be honest, and if somebody or something is stressing me out, I'm going to let that somebody or something know. Okay, now that I am done with the step-by-step process of buying the home, I'm going to get into the nitty-gritty details. Now, I told y'all that our loan officer gave us some tips to improve our credit score within the first few months before we actually filed for the home loan. Now, disclaimer, these are just general credit improving tips and helped us raise our score by a few points. This was some of the advice that we got from him. If you got some credit cards, you keep your utilization under 30%. How to calculate your credit utilization is your credit card balances divided by your credit card limits and multiply that by 10 to get the percentage. For example, if you have a $1,000 credit card balance and you have $3,000 of credit card limit, you multiply that by 10, you have a 30% credit utilization. 2 plus 2 is 4, quick maths. If you can pay off every purchase, that's even better. Another tip is adding your partner to the credit cards as the account holder. Now, this only works if you pay off your account / keep your credit utilization under 30%. It is also recommended to not make big purchases before you buy a home. I'm talking anything over $100 that is not groceries or necessities. Just don't buy it. If you do, buy it in cash, I guess. But even then, you want to be scrimping, saving, making sure that you have enough money to put into your escrow account for that earnest money. Okay, buying a home is not a cheap process. In another video, I will probably explain more into the financial part, but I just wanted to document this whole first-time home buyer experience. So maybe I can look back on it whenever we buy our second home and not do some of the things that we did. The last tip I'm gonna say for improving your credit score is generally just using your credit card for purchases that you would normally make on your debit card, like gas, groceries, cat food, wet wipes for your nasty bum bum, and then pay it off right away. There are also some credit cards available that give you points, cash back for paying bills with your credit card. Though usually companies will charge you you extra for paying with your credit card. Now, here's some things that I'm going to outline that we did that maybe you shouldn't do. Do not try to look at houses on your own. Specifically, if you're trying to book appointments through websites like Zillow or homes.com, in my experience, they will not hook you up with a listing agent. They will set you up with someone in the website's roster, and they will try to get you to sign a contract before you even meet them. You do not and should not be wanting to sign a contract with someone you have never met. But you know what you should do instead is go to open houses that are within your budget. There is no pressure to sign with the realtor. Usually it is a listing agent that is there to help walk you through the house or give you extra information. If you end up liking the person that's there, you could ask them for their card. No pressure, no contract. Just talk to them, text them every once in a while, maybe send an email, get to know them and see if they're gonna be a good fit for you. Also, going to open houses are fun. Sometimes they got little treats. They got water bottles, little candies. It'll also set your expectations up for your budget. And I know seeing houses that are not in your budget, that are maybe way over your budget or a little bit over your budget, is super awesome. But it also sets you up to have an unrealistic expectation, because I'm gonna let y'all know, if y'all are upper or lower middle class like my partner and I, these houses are catfishing us. Okay, they be using AI right now to make the house look way better than it actually looks. And I'll tell y'all, some of them, they fooled me by raising that exposure and saturation so that the grass is green, the walls don't look like they got holes in them, but they do. Something that my partner and I found surprisingly annoying was their virtual staging. Like, those furniture, those plants, they are definitely fake, brother. Don't think we can't catch that a mile away. Just give me a picture of the empty room and I will be on my merry way. But I digress to my next point. Do not try to start this process without the down payment or closing costs already in your checking and or savings account. For my partner and I, since we are using the VA home loan, we do not need a down payment, but we need closing costs in full. I would say generally, I would save around 5% of the house price for inspections, closing costs, legal fees, everything like that, if you're not including the down payment, of course. The higher your down payment, the better your interest rate is. Now, as a side note, now it's not necessarily that we had a bad experience, but it was a more stressful experience because we liked our realtor so much. Generally, just her personality reminded me of my auntie's. The problem was that she was inexperienced. We were her first home buyers, and because of that fact, I don't think she was very well versed with the law, which was not a very good thing because we also are not very familiar with the laws because it is not our job. So I totally recommend, as a first-time home buyer, you should have an experienced realtor. Now, here are some things that we did that you should definitely do. Calculate the average monthly cost that you can afford beforehand. While apartment management might use gross income, housing lenders will use net income. Make sure that your mortgage payment is within 30% of your net income. So that doesn't include utilities, doesn't include internet, and it doesn't include the bucket load of cat food that your cat might eat. Another thing that we did that I think was actually fairly smart was connecting with a loan officer before a realtor. They give you the most realistic look at your credit score and an estimate of how much house you can afford based on the household net income. Now, in my case, my credit score was not as good as my partner's, therefore only he qualified to be on the loan, but our loan officer was able to determine that through just soft credit pulls. Now, some green flags of our loan officer was asking for all of the documents up front. We told him what home loan we wanted to apply for. He knew all of the documents that he needed in order to apply for it, and that is a good mark of an experienced loan officer. Another green flag is that he consistently checked in with us and our credit score. He asked us at least once a week to check our credit score on Credit Karma. He also was incredibly patient. He walked us through the process step by step, as well as timelines of each step. Another green flag is that he had multiple lenders that they work with. He did the work to find us the best interest rate for the loan that we wanted to use. For us, the FHA loan wasn't off the table, but it wasn't ideal since they require 3% down payment. But he was so determined and he knew that he could get us the VA home loan at an appropriate rate. Though it is not the best, it is still a rate that is not absolutely terrible, as well as we can use him again when we want to refinance on our home. Now, like I said, it is a little bit difficult to find a realtor, especially in the digital age, as well as I'm not well versed in housing laws or realtor laws, if that's even a thing. But remember when I said that some realtors will reach out to you asking you to sign a contract? At least here in Texas/the USA, we sign off on a contract saying that we're going to be using the realtor services for the next 3 months. We also signed off that she will be getting paid through the seller. This contract is to protect yet again both parties, making sure that the realtor will receive her money whenever the closing is finished, and assurance that us buyers will have proper representation throughout the whole process. The last thing I think that is best for you to prepare yourself for this process is actually familiarizing yourself with the requirements of the loan that you are trying to get. Whether it's the VA home loan like us, a first-time home buyer's loan, a homestead conventional, Google it, or just use your favorite search engine or even Reddit. Somebody out there will have professional information about what the requirements are for each and every loan. Now, your loan officer can take you through all of the requirements, but it's also just best to do the research on your own so you can come to the table with any questions that you might have. For instance, since we are using the VA home loan, we were unsure if a termite inspection was actually necessary, but because we live in specifically Texas, it is a specified requirement for the VA home loans in Texas to have termite inspection done. They changed the laws generally recently back in 2022 so that the buyer isn't actually required to pay for the termite inspection, and instead the seller is able to pay for the termite inspection. There are certain parts of the closing costs that we would not be responsible for, but the seller would have to cover, like the VA funding fee, attorney fees, settlement charges, etc., etc. So closing costs are generally not as expensive as a conventional or an FHA loan would be for us, so I count us lucky on that part. But I think I've yapped on about this long enough now. If y'all have any tips for first-time homebuyers, please let me know down in the comments below. I hope that some of the things that I've said is going to help you on your journey to becoming a home buyer. I know that the economy is a little bit but I also know that we can control our finances. And if home ownership is a future that you want for yourself, understand that every nugget of information that you retain and every dollar that you save is building you up to your home ownership goal. Subscribe if you like content like this, working on the next house to home episode, and let me know what kind of home content y'all would like to see in the comments. Thank y'all for watching. Remember to slow down, live grandly, and stay compassionate. I love y'all. See you next week.